The ship came out of hyperspace with a flash of blue light. It was small compared to the massive stations floating around the planet Nexus Prime. But inside that small ship was something the galaxy had never seen before. Humans. Yuna stood near the window and looked at the alien world below. She was 42 years old, with short black hair and tired eyes. She had spent her whole life preparing for this moment. Earth had chosen her to speak for all of humanity. It was an honor. It was also a burden. "Ambassador, we are receiving landing instructions," said the pilot. Yuna nodded. "Follow them exactly. We cannot make any mistakes today." Behind her stood Captain Taiho. He was a tall man with broad shoulders and a face that rarely smiled. He had commanded military ships for 15 years. He had fought pirates and rebels and survived things that would break most people. But today, he was just a bodyguard. Today, he had to watch and stay silent. "I do not trust them," Taiho said quietly. "Neither do I," Yuna replied. "But we have no choice. They are stronger than us." For now, the ship landed on a platform made of white crystal. Aliens of many shapes and sizes watched as the humans stepped out. Some had scales. Some had fur. Some had no faces at all. They all looked at the humans with the same expression: curiosity and something else. Something that looked like hunger. A tall creature walked toward them. It had the body of a snake but stood upright on a thick tail. Its skin was green and covered with small golden patterns. It wore robes of purple and silver. This was the Volith High Chancellor, the leader of the Galactic Council. "Welcome, humans," the Chancellor said. His voice was smooth like oil. "We have watched your species for a very long time. We are pleased that you have finally joined the galactic community." Yuna bowed her head slightly. "We are honored to be here, High Chancellor. Earth wishes only peace and friendship with the Council." The Chancellor smiled. He had too many teeth. "Of course, come. The Council is waiting." They walked through halls made of crystal and light. Everything was beautiful. Everything was designed to make visitors feel small. Yuna noticed this. She did not let it affect her. The council chamber was enormous. Hundreds of alien delegates sat in floating seats arranged in a circle. In the center was a small platform. This was where Yuna had to stand, alone, surrounded. She stepped onto the platform and looked up at the faces staring down at her. Some seemed friendly. Most did not. The Chancellor took his seat at the highest point of the chamber. He raised one clawed hand and the room fell silent. "Today we welcome a new species to our great coalition," he announced. "The humans of Earth have developed faster than light travel and have proven themselves worthy of contact. As is tradition, we will now discuss the terms of their membership." A holographic document appeared in front of Yuna. She read it carefully. Each line made her heart sink a little more. Humans would be classified as a junior species. They would have no voting rights in the council for the first 500 years. Human military forces would be limited to 12 patrol ships. Human population growth would be monitored and controlled. Humans would be assigned to resource extraction in the outer sectors. They would mine asteroids and collect gases from dead planets. They would do the work that other species did not want to do. "These are generous terms," the Chancellor said. "Many species wait thousands of years before receiving such an offer." Yuna looked at the document. She looked at the Chancellor. She thought about the millions of people back on Earth who were counting on her. She thought about the children who dreamed of exploring the stars. She thought about saying no. But she also thought about the Council's fleet. 10,000 warships. Weapons that could crack planets in half. Technology that humans could not even understand yet. "We accept your generous terms," Yuna said. The words tasted bitter in her mouth. The Chancellor's smile grew wider. Wonderful. Truly wonderful. You will find that the Council takes good care of its junior partners. You will be safe. You will be guided. You will be managed. Taiho stood at the edge of the chamber. His hands were shaking. Not from fear. From anger. He had spent his life protecting humanity from threats. Now he had to watch as his species was turned into servants. And he could do nothing. After the ceremony, Yuna and Taiho were taken to their quarters. The room was comfortable. It was also clearly designed for prisoners. The doors could be locked from outside. The windows did not open. They think we are animals, Taiho said. They are putting us in a cage. Yuna sat down heavily. They have been doing this for 10,000 years. They conquer species not with war, but with treaties. They make you sign away your freedom while smiling and thanking them for the opportunity. So, what do we do? Yuna was silent for a long moment. Then she looked at Taiho with eyes that had changed. The tiredness was gone. Something harder had taken its place. We play their game, she said. We bow. We smile. We mine their asteroids and follow their rules. We let them think they have won. And then, when they are not watching, we prepare. We build. We learn everything about them. Their weaknesses. Their secrets. Their fears. Yuna stood up and walked to the window. The alien city sparkled below like a field of diamonds. They have never met a species like us, Taiho. They have conquered races that surrendered when they saw the Council's power. They have defeated civilizations that fought with honor and died with dignity. She turned to face him. But they have never faced humans. They do not know what we are. They do not know that we survived ice ages that killed almost everyone. They do not know that we created weapons that could destroy our own world and then chose not to use them. They do not know that we fight and argue and hate each other, but when something threatens all of us, we become one. Taiho felt something stir in his chest. It was hope. How long? He asked. As long as it takes. 5 years. 10 years. 20. We are patient. We are survivors. And one day, when they least expect it, we will show them what humanity really is. Back on Earth, Admiral Jian received the news of the treaty. She was 60 years old with gray hair and a face marked by decades of service. She had led fleets into battle. She had made decisions that cost lives and saved millions more. She had never backed down from a fight in her entire life. She read the treaty terms. Then she laughed. It was not a happy laugh. It was the laugh of someone who had just been challenged by a fool. Get me the Joint Chiefs, she said to her aide, and the directors of every secret research facility we have. We have work to do. Her aide hesitated. Admiral, the Council will be monitoring us. They have satellites watching Earth. They have spies in our systems. Jian smiled. It was the smile of a wolf. Good, she said. Let them watch. Let them see a species learning its place. Let them see farmers and miners and obedient little workers. She leaned forward. And while they are watching the show, we will be building something in the shadows. Something they will never see coming. The first day of humanity's subjugation had begun. The first day of humanity's revenge had begun too. 5 years passed. To the Galactic Council, everything looked perfect. Humans were working in the asteroid mines of the outer sectors. They were following every rule. They were paying every tax. They were bowing to every inspector. The Council congratulated itself on another successful integration. They had no idea what was really happening. In the Bizen orbital shipyard, Dr. Minho worked alone in a laboratory that did not officially exist. He was a thin man with messy hair and dark circles under his eyes. He had not slept more than 4 hours a night for 3 years. He did not care. He was building something that would change everything. The Council had banned humans from developing weapons above Class 3. A Class 3 weapon was basically a strong laser. It could damage a small ship, but nothing more. The great battle cruisers of the Council fleet were protected by shields that could stop anything Class 3 or below. So Minho did not build a weapon. He built a mining tool. On paper, it was a high-intensity industrial cutting system. It was designed to slice through asteroids quickly and efficiently. The Council inspectors looked at the plans and saw nothing dangerous. They approved it without question. What they did not understand was the power source. Minho had spent 2 years developing a new type of energy cell. It was small enough to fit in a standard mining ship, but it produced more power than the engines of a Council battle cruiser. When you combined that power source with the cutting laser, you did not get a mining tool. You got something that could slice through a warship like a knife through water. Minho ran the numbers one more time. Then he smiled. It was the smile of a man who had just built a dragon and hidden it inside a sheep. Far away, on the colony world of Kepler 442b, Governor Sujin was doing something equally dangerous. Sujin was a small woman with a kind face and a gentle voice. The Council saw her as the perfect colonial administrator. She kept the human settlers calm. She made sure the mining quotas were met. She never caused any problems. What the Council did not see was what happened after dark. Every night, after the alien monitors went to sleep, the farmers and miners of Kepler 442b gathered in hidden valleys and underground caves. They trained, not in farming, in fighting. Sujin had been a soldier before she became a governor. She had fought in 3 wars on Earth. She knew how to kill with a gun, a knife, or her bare hands. And she was teaching everything she knew to every human on the planet. Again, she said, watching a group of young men practice hand-to-hand combat. Your enemy will be faster than you, stronger than you. You cannot beat them with power. You must beat them with skill and surprise. A young man named Doan raised his hand. Governor, the Velith soldiers have armor that can stop bullets. How do we fight that? Sujin smiled. We do not fight their armor. We fight their minds. The Velith have not faced real resistance in 3,000 years. They have forgotten what fear feels like. When the time comes, we will remind them. She looked at the group of tired, dirty farmers standing before her. They did not look like soldiers. They looked like exactly what the Council thought they were. Workers, peasants, harmless. That was the point. The most dangerous work was being done by a woman named Hyan. She was small and quiet with a face that people forgot 5 minutes after meeting her. This made her perfect for her job. She was a spy. For 3 years, Hyan had lived on Nexus Prime, working as a translator in the Council's communication center. It was a boring job. She spent her days converting documents from one alien language to another. Nobody paid attention to her. Nobody noticed when she stayed late. Nobody wondered why she was always near the main computer systems. The Council's encryption was considered unbreakable. It used quantum algorithms that would take a normal computer 10,000 years to crack. Hyan did not use a normal computer. She used her brain. Hyan had a gift. She could see patterns that others could not. Numbers spoke to her like music. After 6 months of watching the encrypted signals, she began to understand the rhythm. After a year, she could read simple messages. After 2 years, she could read everything. She knew the location of every Council fleet. She knew the access codes for their defense systems. She knew the private conversations between the Chancellor and his advisors. She knew that the Council was already planning the next phase of humanity's subjugation. Hyan sent a coded message to Admiral Jian. It was hidden inside a routine shipping report. It said simply, "They are planning to move us. All of us. We have 90 days." On Earth, Jian received the message. Her face did not change. She had been expecting something like this. The Council never kept junior species on their home planets for long. It was easier to control them when they were scattered across the galaxy, far from everything they knew. She called a secret meeting. It was held in a bunker 200 meters below the surface of the Pacific Ocean. The room was shielded from every type of scanning technology known to exist. Only 12 people knew it was there. Yuna was there, having returned from her latest diplomatic mission. Taiho was there, now commanding what the Council thought was humanity's entire fleet. Minho was there, carrying designs for weapons that should not exist. Sujin appeared on a screen, broadcasting from her hidden base on Kepler 442b. Hyan was there as a voice only. Still deep undercover on Nexus Prime, Jian stood at the head of the table. She was older now, more gray in her hair, more lines on her face. But her eyes were the same, sharp, dangerous, undefeated. "In 90 days, she said, the Council will vote to relocate Earth's population to labor colonies across the galaxy. Families will be separated. Communities will be destroyed. Our culture, our history, our identity will be erased within a generation." She paused. "We are not going to let that happen." Taiho leaned forward. "How many ships do we have?" "Real ships, not the patrol boats they know about." Jian allowed herself a small smile. 312. Hidden in asteroid fields, inside gas giants, buried under the surface of moons. The Council has not found a single one. Sujin's voice came through the screen. "My people are ready. 30,000 trained fighters on Kepler 442b alone. More on the other colony worlds. When the signal comes, we rise together." Minho cleared his throat nervously. "The weapons are ready. I have equipped 200 ships with the new cutting systems. I have also developed something else." He pulled up a hologram showing a small device. "This is an electromagnetic pulse generator. It will disable any electronics within a 5-kilometer radius, including Velith neural implants." Hyan's voice was calm and cold. "I will give you the fleet positions at the moment of attack. I will also disable their long-range communication network. When we strike, they will be blind and deaf." Jian looked around the room. These were the people who would save humanity. A diplomat, a soldier, an engineer, a governor, a spy, and herself, an old woman who refused to let her species die. "They gave us 90 days, she said. "We are going to give them the surprise of their lives. We are going to remind the galaxy why humans survived when so many others did not. We are going to teach the Council a lesson they will never forget." She placed both hands on the table and looked at each person in turn. "We are not animals. We are not slaves. We are not children to be managed and controlled. We are the species that crawled out of the mud and reached for the stars. We are the species that split the atom and walked on the moon. We are the species that has faced extinction a dozen times and refused to die." Her voice grew stronger. "In 90 days, the Council will learn what that means. In 90 days, the galaxy will see what humans really are. And in 90 days, every species that ever dreamed of freedom will know that it is possible." She straightened up. "Now let us get to work. We have a rebellion to prepare." The day of the rebellion began like any other day. The sun rose over Nexus Prime. Alien merchants opened their shops. Council officials went to their offices. Nobody knew that the galaxy was about to change forever. Yuna walked through the crystal halls of the Council building one last time. She wore her formal ambassador robes. Her face showed nothing. Her heart was beating fast, but her hands were steady. She had practiced this moment 1,000 times in her mind. Behind her walked 2 assistants. They carried a small case. The council guards scanned it and found only documents. They did not know that the documents hid a quantum transmitter powerful enough to hijack every communication relay in the sector. The council chamber was full. All the delegates had gathered for the vote on human relocation. The Velith Chancellor sat in his high seat, looking down with that smile full of too many teeth. He was expecting an easy day. Sign some papers. Move some humans. Continue ruling the galaxy as his species had done for 10,000 years. Yuna stepped onto the central platform. The platform where she had stood 5 years ago and accepted chains disguised as a treaty. The Council recognizes Ambassador Yuna of Earth, the Chancellor announced. You may speak before the vote. Yuna looked up at the hundreds of alien faces. She took a deep breath. Hi, Chancellor, she said. Honored delegates. For 5 years, I have stood before you and spoken words of peace and cooperation. For 5 years, I have represented a species that you called primitive, dangerous, and in need of management. For 5 years, I have smiled and bowed and accepted your generous terms. Her voice changed. The soft diplomatic tone disappeared. Something harder took its place. Today I speak different words. She raised her hand. Her assistant pressed a button on the hidden transmitter. Across the galaxy, on every planet with a human presence, screens flickered and changed. The Council's programming was replaced by a single broadcast. Yuna's face appeared on 1 billion screens. My name is Yuna. I speak for Earth. I speak for every human who has ever lived under alien rule. I speak for every species that the Council has conquered, controlled, and consumed. In the chamber, delegates began shouting. Guards moved toward the platform. The Chancellor's smile had disappeared. For 5 years, you have called us primitives. You have treated us as children. You have planned to scatter us across the galaxy like seeds in the wind, hoping we would forget who we are. Yuna's voice grew stronger. You were wrong. She looked directly at the Chancellor. We are humanity. We do not kneel. We do not forget. And we do not forgive. At that exact moment, Captain Taiho's fleet emerged from hyperspace. The Council expected 12 human patrol ships. They got 300 warships appearing from nowhere, arranged in perfect attack formation around Nexus Prime. Taiho stood on the bridge of his flagship. The Soul's Wrath. He watched the confusion spreading through the Council's defense fleet. Their commanders were sending frantic messages, trying to understand what was happening. Their sensors were going crazy, unable to identify the weapons that human ships were carrying. All ships, Taiho said calmly, weapons free. 200 ships fired their mining lasers at the same moment. The beams were invisible to normal sensors. The Council's defense grid did not even try to block them. Why would it? They were just mining tools. 30 seconds later, half of the orbital defense stations were burning wreckage. On the ground, the Council guards finally reached the platform where Yuna stood. They pointed their weapons at her. She did not flinch. Arrest her, the Chancellor screamed. Arrest all of them. Destroy their ships. Crush this rebellion now. Yuna smiled. You still do not understand, do you? This is not a rebellion. This is a revolution. And it has already begun. Far away, on Kepler 442b, Governor Sujin received the signal. She was standing on a hill overlooking the main mining complex. Below her, Vela soldiers patrolled the work camps, keeping the human laborers in line. They had no idea what was coming. Sujin raised a small radio to her lips. All units. The spark has been lit. Light the fire. 30,000 humans attacked at once. They came from everywhere. From underground tunnels. from hidden shelters in the forest, from the mining camps themselves. The farmers who had been so quiet and obedient suddenly had weapons in their hands and rage in their eyes. The Velas soldiers were trained for many things. They were not trained for this. They had never faced an enemy who did not care about dying. They had never seen humans fight with the desperation of people who had nothing left to lose. Sujin led the charge on the main command center. She was 53 years old. She moved like she was 20. A Veleth officer tried to stop her. She broke his arm in 2 places, took his weapon, and kept moving. By sunset, Kepler 442b was free. Similar scenes played out across 12 colony worlds. Human workers who had spent years pretending to be helpless suddenly revealed what they really were: soldiers, fighters. On Nexus Prime, the battle in space continued. Taiho's fleet faced 3 times their number, but they had advantages the Council could not understand. First, they had Minho's weapons. The mining lasers cut through shields that should have been unbreakable. The electromagnetic pulse bombs disabled enemy ships without destroying them, leaving their crews alive but helpless. Second, they had Hyan's intelligence. Every Council ship movement was predicted. Every command was intercepted. Every trap was avoided. Third, they had something no amount of technology could match. They had human pilots. The Council ships were commanded by officers who had followed the same tactics for centuries. They attacked information. They retreated when losses reached 10%. They followed the rules of war that had governed galactic conflict since before humans existed. Human pilots followed no rules. A young pilot named Jisoo flew her small fighter directly at a Council battlecruiser. The massive ship's weapons tracked her, preparing to fire. At the last second, she cut her engines and spun sideways, passing so close to the battlecruiser's hull that she could see the rivets. Her ship's mining laser sliced through the battlecruiser's engine section. The great ship went dark. An engineer named Han Yul was on a damaged cruiser with failing life support. Instead of surrendering, he flew his dying ship directly into the Council's flagship shield generators. He ejected at the last moment. His crew picked him up 20 minutes later, laughing. A captain named Yoonji found her ship surrounded by 5 enemy vessels. She broadcast a surrender signal. When they lowered their shields to accept, she fired everything she had. 3 ships destroyed. She escaped with only minor damage. The Council commanders sent desperate reports to the Chancellor. These humans are insane. They do not fight like any species we have encountered. They do not retreat. They do not surrender. They do not seem to care if they live or die. In the Council chamber, the Chancellor watched his fleet dying. He watched his defense grid crumbling. He watched his carefully constructed empire beginning to fall apart. Yuna still stood on the platform. Guards surrounded her, but they were afraid to touch her. They were watching the same thing he was. How? The Chancellor whispered. How is this possible? You are primitives. You are children. You have only had space travel for 50 years. How can you be doing this? Yuna walked toward him. The guards parted without thinking. Her presence filled the room. You want to know how? She said. I will tell you. You have ruled the galaxy for 10,000 years. You have conquered 100 species. You have become comfortable. You have forgotten what it means to struggle. You have forgotten what it means to fear. She stopped directly in front of his seat, looking up at him. We have never forgotten. We struggle every day. We fear every day. And every day, we choose to keep going anyway. That is what makes us human. That is what makes us strong. That is what you never understood. The Chancellor's face twisted with rage and fear. We will destroy you. We will burn your planet. We will. You will do nothing, Yuna said quietly. Your fleet is broken. Your stations are burning. Your communications are down. In 1 hour, this will be over. And when it is, you will have a choice. Surrender and live under new rules, or fight and die. She turned her back on him and walked toward the exit. The age of the council is ending, she said without looking back. The age of freedom is beginning, and humanity is leading the way. The war lasted 3 years. It spread across 40 star systems. It involved 12 different species, and it changed everything. Admiral Jian commanded the human forces from her flagship, the Soul's Defiance. She was 63 years old now. Her hair was completely white. Her body was tired, but her mind was as sharp as ever, and her will was unbreakable. She stood on the bridge, watching the tactical display that showed the entire war at once. Blue dots were human ships. Red dots were council forces. Green dots were allies who had joined the rebellion. The display looked like a galaxy on fire. "Report," she said. Her aide, a young officer named Sung-ho, checked his screens. The Velith core worlds are surrounded. Their remaining fleet is gathering at the Meridian Crossing. Intelligence estimates 200 warships, plus whatever the Thren Confederacy sends. Jian nodded. The Thren were the Council's oldest and most powerful allies. If they joined the fight in full force, the war would become much harder. What about our forces? We have 112 combat-ready ships in this sector. Captain Taiho is bringing another 40 from the liberation of Sector 7. But Admiral, even with his reinforcement, we will be outnumbered almost 2 to 1. Jian studied the display. The Meridian Crossing was a narrow passage between 2 dense nebulae. It was the only quick route between the Council's territory and the Thren homeworlds. If she could block it, she could prevent the Thren fleet from reinforcing the Council. "Get me Captain Taiho," she said. Taiho's face appeared on the communication screen. He was on his bridge, surrounded by the controlled chaos of a ship preparing for battle. He looked tired but focused. "Admiral," he said, "we will be at Meridian in 6 hours. That may not be fast enough. The Thren fleet is already moving. If they reach the crossing before you, they will break through and hit our forces from behind." Taiho was quiet for a moment. "Then we need to slow them down. How?" A slight smile crossed his face. "By being unpredictable?" He cut the communication and turned to his navigation officer. "New course. We are not going to Meridian. We are going directly to the Thren fleet." His crew stared at him. The navigation officer, a woman named Harry, spoke first. "Sir, they have 200 ships. We have 40. Yes. They have battle cruisers. We have mostly frigates and destroyers. Yes. Sir, that is suicide." Taiho shook his head. "No, that is exactly what they will think. And that is why it will work." The Thren fleet commander was named Executor Voras. He was a massive creature covered in gray armor plating, with 6 arms and eyes that never blinked. He had commanded fleets for 300 years. He had never lost a battle. When his sensors detected 40 human ships approaching his fleet of 200, he assumed it was a mistake. "Confirm that reading," he ordered. "Confirmed, Executor. 40 human vessels on intercept course. They will reach us in 3 hours." Voras made a sound that might have been laughter. "Are they surrendering?" "No, Executor. They are broadcasting no signals at all. They appear to be preparing for battle." Now Voras was confused. The humans had proven themselves dangerous, yes, but they were not stupid. No sane commander would attack a force 5 times their size. "Perhaps they do not know our full strength," he said. "They will retreat when they see us." They did not retreat. Taiho's fleet flew directly at the Thren formation. They did not slow down. They did not spread out. They flew in a tight arrow shape, aimed at the heart of the enemy fleet. Voraz watched with growing unease. What are they doing? Nobody answered. Nobody knew. At the last moment, the human ships split apart. They flew between the Thren warships, so close that they almost touched. And as they passed, they fired. Not at the ships themselves, at the connections between them. Thren fleets always fought in linked formations. Their ships shared power and shields through energy beams. It made them incredibly strong when facing a normal enemy. But it also meant that if those connections were broken, the ships became isolated and weak. Minho had figured this out months ago. He had designed weapons specifically to cut those energy beams. In 30 seconds, the mighty Thren fleet became 200 individual ships, confused and vulnerable. Then the second wave hit. Taiho had not brought just 40 ships. He had brought 40 ships and 200 drone bombers. The drones had been hiding behind his fleet, invisible to Thren sensors. Now they swarmed the scattered enemy ships like angry insects. The drones were not designed to destroy battle cruisers. They were designed to blind them. Each drone carried a single electromagnetic pulse bomb. 200 bombs went off at almost the same time. 200 Thren ships lost their sensors, their communications, their navigation. The mighty fleet was now a collection of floating metal boxes, unable to see or speak or move. Taiho's voice echoed across all frequencies. Executor Voraz, your fleet is disabled. Your ships are helpless. Surrender now and your crews will live. Fight and they will die. You have 60 seconds to decide. Voraz stood on his bridge, surrounded by darkness. His screens were dead. His weapons were offline. His proud fleet was broken. For the first time in 300 years, he knew what it felt like to lose. I surrender, he said. The news of the Thren fleet's capture spread across the galaxy like fire. The Council's most powerful ally had been defeated by a force 1/5 their size. The supposedly invincible Thren had been beaten by tricks and cleverness and courage. Other species began to wonder. If the Thren could fall, could the Council fall too? On the colony world of Varath 3, a species called the Marath had served the Council for 2,000 years. They were quiet, patient creatures who had never shown any sign of rebellion. But they had been watching. They had been waiting. When news of the Thren surrender arrived, the Morath rose up. In one night, they captured every Council installation on their world. They sent a message to Admiral Gion. We stand with humanity. The same thing happened on world after world. Species that had been silent for centuries suddenly found their voices. The Council's empire was not being conquered. It was being abandoned. Admiral Gion received reports from across the galaxy. 12 species had joined the rebellion. 20 more were considering it. The Council's control was crumbling faster than anyone had imagined. But the war was not over. The Council still held their core worlds. They still had weapons capable of destroying planets. And they were growing desperate. Admiral, Sungho said urgently, we are detecting massive energy readings from the Velith homeworld. They are powering up something big. Gion felt cold. She knew what this meant. The Council had always claimed that planetary destruction weapons were forbidden. But she had never believed them. Can we stop it? Not from here. Our closest ships are 12 hours away. Gion closed her eyes. 12 hours. In 12 hours, the Council could destroy a dozen worlds. They could kill billions of people. They could turn this war into a massacre. She opened her eyes. Get me Hyan. Hyan's voice came through the secured channel. She was still on Nexus Prime, still hiding in plain sight. Admiral, I know why you are calling. Can you stop it? A pause. I can try. But I will need to reveal myself. I will need to access systems I have never touched before. They will find me. Jian's throat tightened. Hyan had been their secret weapon for years. Exposing her meant losing her. It might mean losing the entire intelligence network she had built. It might also mean Hyan would be captured, tortured, killed. Hyan, I cannot order you to do this. You are not ordering me. I am volunteering. There was no fear in Hyan's voice, just calm determination. I did not spend 5 years building this network to watch them burn worlds. I will stop them. Hyan, Admiral, tell my family I love them. And tell Captain Taiho that the codes for the Chancellor's private bunker are hidden in my apartment. He will need them for the final assault. The channel went silent. Across the galaxy, Hyan walked out of her translator's office for the last time. She walked toward the central computer core of the Council's military command. She was small and quiet, and nobody noticed her. Until she reached the core. Until she plugged in her device. Until every screen on Nexus Prime flickered and went dark. The planetary destruction weapon shut down. The Council's military network crashed. For one beautiful moment, the entire enemy war machine stopped. Then the alarm started. Then the soldiers came. Then Hyan did something nobody expected. She laughed. They found her sitting calmly in the computer core, surrounded by destroyed equipment. She had not just disabled the weapon. She had destroyed the Council's entire military coordination system. It would take them months to rebuild. The soldiers dragged her away. She went quietly, still smiling. The war was not over, but humanity had just won its greatest victory. The final battle happened above the Velith homeworld. It was the largest space battle in galactic history. Over 1,000 ships fought for control of the planet that had ruled the galaxy for 10,000 years. Captain Taiho led the assault. His fleet had grown from 40 ships to 400. Humans, Morath, Thren, who had switched sides, and a dozen other species fought together under one command. They were no longer rebels. They were liberators. The Council's remaining defenders fought hard. They had nothing left to lose. Their empire was falling. Their allies had abandoned them. Their great weapon had been destroyed by a single small woman with a smile on her face. Taiho watched from his bridge as wave after wave of enemy ships attacked. His own forces were taking heavy losses. But they were not giving up. They never gave up. Captain, his tactical officer reported, we have an opening. The enemy fleet is pulled back to protect the orbital stations. If we hit them now, we can break through. Taiho studied the display. It was risky. The orbital stations had massive weapons that could destroy ships with a single shot. But between the stations, there was a path. A narrow path that led directly to the planet's surface. All ships, he said, follow me. The Soul's Wrath dove toward the planet. Behind it came hundreds of ships, flying in a formation so tight that their shields almost touched. The orbital stations fired. Ships exploded. But the fleet kept moving. Taiho felt his ship shake as enemy fire hit the shields. Warning lights flashed. Damage reports flooded in. He ignored them all. He had one goal. Reach the planet. Land the troops. End this war. They broke through. Human soldiers poured onto the Velith homeworld. They were joined by fighters from a dozen other species. Together, they advanced on the Council's capital city. Governor Sujin led one of the main assault groups. She was exhausted. She had been fighting for 3 years. She had lost friends, soldiers, and sometimes hope. But she had never stopped. Now she stood at the gates of the Council building. The same building where Yuna had signed the treaty that started this whole journey. The same building where humanity had been told to kneel. Open the gates, she ordered. The gates did not open. Sujin smiled. Fine, we do it the hard way. The assault on the Council building lasted 6 hours. Every corridor was defended. Every room was a battlefield. The Velith guards fought with the desperation of people protecting their last hope. But the humans and their allies fought with something stronger. They fought with the rage of people who had been treated as animals. They fought with the hope of people who could finally see freedom. When Sujin finally reached the council chamber, she found the chancellor waiting for her. He looked old. His scales were dull. His eyes were tired. The arrogant creature who had smiled down at Yuna 5 years ago was gone. In his place was a broken leader watching his empire die. "It is over," Sujin said. The chancellor laughed bitterly. "Is it? You have won a war. But can you rule a galaxy? We spent 10,000 years building this civilization. You have spent 3 years destroying it. What comes next?" Sujin did not answer him. She did not need to. The answer came 3 months later in the form of a new government. The Treaty of New Earth was signed in the same chamber where the old council had ruled. But everything was different. The seats were arranged in a circle, with no position higher than any other. The delegates came from 40 different species. And at the center, speaking for the alliance that had freed them all, stood Ambassador Yuna. "We are not here to create a new empire," she said. Her voice was calm but carried to every corner of the room. "We are not here to replace one set of masters with another. We are here to build something that has never existed before. A galaxy where every species is free, where every voice matters, where no one kneels." She looked around the room at faces of every shape and color. "This will not be easy. We have different histories, different cultures, different needs. We will disagree. We will argue. We will sometimes fail. But we will do it together, as equals, as partners, as friends." The treaty was signed by representatives of every species that had fought for freedom. It guaranteed the independence of all worlds. It created a new interstellar assembly where every species had an equal vote. It banned the weapons and policies that the old council had used to control its subjects. And it established a new principle that would guide the galaxy for generations to come. No species would ever again be classified as junior. All were equal. All were free. After the signing, Yuna walked out onto a balcony overlooking the city. Taiho joined her. "You did it," he said. "You actually did it." Yuna shook her head. "We did it. All of us. Every miner who built weapons in secret. Every farmer who trained to fight. Every pilot who flew missions they did not expect to survive." She paused. Hyan did it. She saved more lives than anyone will ever know. Taiho was quiet. Hyan had been rescued from a council prison during the final assault. She was alive, but the torture had taken its toll. She would never fully recover. But she was alive, and she was free, and her sacrifice had changed the course of history. "What happens now?" Taiho asked. Yuna smiled. "Now we do the hard part. We build, we teach. We show the galaxy that freedom is not chaos, that independence is not isolation, that different species can work together without one ruling the others. And if we fail, then we try again. That is what humans do. We fail. We learn. We get back up. We have been doing it for 1,000,000 years. I do not think we will stop now." 50 years passed. The interstellar assembly grew from 40 species to 200. Trade routes connected worlds that had never spoken before. Scientific collaboration produced discoveries that no single species could have made alone. Conflicts still happened, but they were resolved with words instead of weapons. Humanity spread across the galaxy. They built colonies on 1,000 worlds. They became teachers, explorers, diplomats, artists. They were no longer a junior species learning their place. They were partners in a civilization that grew stronger every day. Admiral Jian retired to a small house by the ocean on Earth. She spent her days fishing and watching the sunset. When reporters asked her about her role in the war, she always said the same thing: "I just gave orders." The real heroes were the people who followed them. Captain Taiho returned to exploration. His new ship, the New Horizon, traveled beyond the edges of known space. He was looking for new species, new worlds, new friends. "We are not conquerors," he told his crew. "We are ambassadors. We go in peace." Dr. Minho won every scientific award the galaxy had to offer. He donated every credit to rebuilding war-damaged worlds. Then he went back to his workshop, where he was working on an engine that could cross the galaxy in days instead of months. Governor Sujin became the first human elected to lead the Interstellar Assembly. She served for 20 years, guiding the new civilization through its growing pains. When she finally stepped down, she went home to Kepler 442b, where the farmers who had once trained in secret now grew food that fed 100 worlds. Hyan never held any official position. Her name did not appear in history books. But in intelligence communities across the galaxy, she was a legend. She trained a new generation of spies who protected freedom instead of oppressing it. Then she disappeared, leaving behind only a single message: freedom is not a gift. It is a promise you keep. One day, a young Velith student visited a human university. She was studying history, trying to understand what had happened to her species, why they had ruled for so long and fallen so quickly. She found a human professor, an old woman with gray hair and kind eyes, who agreed to answer her questions. "How did you do it?" the student asked. "The council had everything: numbers, technology, experience. How did humans win?" The professor was quiet for a moment. Then she smiled. "You made a mistake," she said. "You saw a young species, barely out of its home system, and you thought you knew what we were. You thought we were primitive because our ships were small. You thought we were weak because we fought among ourselves. You thought we could be controlled because we agreed to your treaty." She leaned forward in her chair. "But you did not know our history. You did not know that we walked out of Africa with stone tools and conquered a planet. You did not know that we survived ice ages, plagues, and wars that nearly destroyed us. You did not know that we split the atom and touched the moon and reached for the stars even when it seemed impossible." Her eyes were bright with memory. "You saw our weakness. You missed our strength. Our strength is not in our ships or our weapons or our technology. Our strength is in our spirit. We adapt. We endure. We refuse to give up, no matter how hopeless things seem. We have faced extinction 100 times, and 100 times we have survived." She stood up and walked to the window. Outside, human and Velith children played together in a garden. "You thought you could control us. You put us in chains and told us to be grateful. You tried to erase our identity and scatter us across the galaxy." She turned to face the student. "But you forgot one thing." "What?" The professor smiled. "We are humanity. We never stop fighting. We never stop hoping. And we never, ever forget who we are." She looked out the window at the children laughing in the sun. "You thought you could control us. You were wrong.